So it's the 19th of February, and here we are in the museum in Coquitlam with Yetty and Elsley. And what we're going to do today is have what I think is going to be a very interesting conversation, because our couple today have been in Coquitlam for a very long time. In fact, I believe it's since 1947, and they have some very interesting things to share with us. So the first question that I'd really like to put to you both today is, what was it like in Coquitlam when you came in 1947?
You want to say that?
We got off of the train down here, just along off Columbia Street, the old railroad crossing, the old railroad station below the bank.
Yeah.
And we came up into Malarkey here where my uncle was living, and we spent a couple of days with him. Then we moved got a place of our own to stay in. It was a small community, very friendly community.
So how big do you think it would have been in 47? Any idea?
Well, it went the 47 Monday Road was the end of it, going, I guess that'd be east. And just on Linton Avenue, there was about 3 or 4 blocks, and then there was a farm on the other side of that.
So just
This was more a rural area because it was all farms.
rural
Very
area?
small
Yeah.
area,
Very small
actually.
area.
Like
So
it was-
in those days then, when you first were here,
Yeah.
if you just wanted to do your grocery shopping and what have you, could you do that round here? Or did
We
you,
had
We
had
went to New West to Safeways.
you had to go to New West?
Yes.
So quite a change from today then.
Oh, it is.
Oh yes. Yeah.
See, Burnett Street here was the main road going through.
Right,
At that time, it went around here, out and up over Dawes Hill.
right. So here we have a very small rural Canadian community. Now, as I recall from what you were telling me earlier on today, you would fairly recently come out of the military, is that right?
Yes, I'm 45.
45.
Yes.
Okay, so really when you got to Coquitlam then, you'd still recently been in the army.
Yeah. He was out for 2 years. Yeah.
Right, so maybe you could talk a little bit about what was it like, coming out of the military in 45 and getting back into civilian life,
It's quite a bit different than it was before we left,
right?
because we all changed.
Right.
Every veteran that came back from over there wasn't the same person as when they left.
Why was that?
I don't know.
Well, they hardened. They got they saw so much.
You see, I was 20 when I went in, 1920. When you come back at 24 and you're in the army all the time, it's, you change.
Change.
Yeah. You get, I guess you'd say, more meaner.
Do you think it's what happened to you during the time you were in the services, or just older, or both?
Well,
Yeah.
but
Well, I didn't know because I met him after the war. See, so they said, "Did he change?" Well, I didn't know
I
what
know
he
I
was like.
changed
Yeah.
quite a lot from
Yeah.
from when I left. When I went over there, I was more or less, everybody was, you made friends with everybody, you didn't have no, and when you come back, it was different.
So you've kind of really lost the
You lost-
military family.
You
and then-
lost about five,
Yeah.
I lost about 5 years of my life.
Right.
See, he had to sit always with his back against the wall because you always scared that there was
You
somebody.
were always
Behind him
on
there.
guard watching, you never,
Yeah.
you know.
Even Yetty always looks at the wall first, where he goes and sits after all those
So you mean
years.
you were in quite a lot of dangerous theatres of the war?
Boy, I was in a lot of action in different places and different things.
Right. So that was a difficult then adjusting from that
Yeah,
very
it was
dangerous
quite,
environment.
quite different.
Right.
Like when the, just after we came out of action from when the war was over, you walking down the sidewalk, down the street, and somebody fired a firecracker. Everybody just dropped right to the ground.
Right.
You took cover right off of the bat. It seemed to be automatic. everybody was, every veteran was that way over in Europe, actually.
Yeah,
Well,
I've
though-
heard that same story, from people who are much younger than you know, being in
And
Afghanistan.
if you were walking
so-
along, somebody come touch you unknown like that on the bank, on your back, you were
Right, ready to fight,
right
yeah.
ready to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so quite a change when
It
you
was
came
quite
back.
a change.
Right. So when you first came to Coquitlam, then I think you had a family by then,
Yes, I had one
one,
2-month-old daughter.
and you were telling me you went to work at the mill,
When I first came up here, I couldn't get in the middle.
right?
I worked in a cannery down here on
Stevenson.
Mountain Street there, just on the other side of the bridge.
Oh,
Stevenson.
There was a cannery there, and I worked in there for a while.
Used to take the
In
tram down.
winter times, I had some work.
Yeah.
Used to take the tram down there, remember?
And then
Yeah.
from there I worked out in Stevenson. When that closed, I went out to Stevenson, working in the cannery there. They used to take the streetcar from US into Vancouver,
Yeah.
then back out to Stevenson by streetcar.
Oh, so you had quite a lot of travel.
It was
to
a
get
lot,
to
a long
work.
travel, yeah.
Yeah. So jobs were not too plentiful in those
Well,
days.
in that fall, they were very tight.
Yeah.
Then in the spring, it opened up,
Well, you went for the longest time to Fraser Mills to saw Mr.
I
Miller.
used to go down.
See Mr. Miller who was in charge there. And
So then you moved from the cannery eventually to the mill then?
Pardon?
You moved from the cannery.
Yeah, in the
Yes.
spring I left the cannery and I got a job here with, there were a construction company that was putting
pipeline.
stucco and
Yeah.
houses and that on the outside. I
Oh,
worked
building houses?
Yeah, I worked with them up in Burnaby and Port Coquitlam, different areas, Vancouver. I used to go up there and work with them for quite a lot. The only thing was, if it rained, you couldn't work. You couldn't put stucco on a house.
Right.
So when I got into the mill, I worked there for about 4 or 5 years, and then I quit that and went construction, carpentry.
Oh, right.
I work construction on different.
First of all, you worked on a pipeline.
Yeah, so why, could you tell us a bit about why you actually left the mill in the end?
They left the prairies.
No, you left the mill. You were
The mill.
working there for a number
Yeah.
of years and then you quit?
I was on afternoons all the time.
Yeah.
And I'd go to work at 2 o'clock, and I'd come home at 2 o'clock in the morning to get to bed.
Right.
And I was raising a family at the time,
Right.
and I never could get to go to in like their school plays or anything. I had to be at work or I was sleeping. I didn't have any.
So you had the problem, I guess,
Yeah.
what I call a shift
Yeah.
worker problem, I guess.
Yeah.
Difficult hours and
The hours.
difficult
was
for
what
kids. And
But he missed out on so many things, especially when it came baseball season. You know,
right.
he missed out so much. So
Yeah, and of course, I guess you had how many children at that
Yeah.
point, you think?
I had 6 boys.
Oh, so you would have been really missing
see,
out
I
on a
went from
great
one
deal then.
baseball field to the other one. You know, so
I used to coach the baseball here
and then you got coaching.
for
Yeah.
the kids.
Right, right. So when you obviously the family issues were big, and so you came
Yeah.
out of the mill and then went into construction, and that was
Yeah.
a bit easier with the family.
Yeah, it was. I was on days and then I had weekends off, you see.
Oh, right.
So that made it much better.
Well, when you worked in the mill, then you had to work
I
weekends.
worked weekends as well as the day shift, you know.
Right. And of course, in those days, you were at home with the kids.
Oh yes, oh yes. I stayed up till after he came home from work and had a bowl of hot soup always ready for him in the winter time. And
Yeah, that must have been a big job, raising
yeah.
a family of that size.
well, I come from 110 too, so I mean I'm used to big families. We have at home had 10 of a family, so you know.
And you were born in Holland, right?
Yes. Hmm.
So it comes from a big family there
Yeah.
and big family here.
And then my mother died in 1939, so I was used to have to take care of some brothers and sisters, you know. Because my dad was looked after, had them all looked after him, like, you know, so it was a big job because he was working as well, so it was nothing new to him, new to me, having kids, like, you know, around.
Right. So one thing I'm curious about is that you know, certainly these days people would consider that quite a large family.
Mm-hmm.
What was the main challenge of having, you know, a large number of kids in those days? What was the toughest thing about it?
Well, the kids never really, well, you always had somebody, nobody was ever lonesome.
Yeah.
Nobody didn't know who to play with because they always had one another to play with.
Yeah.
And we all knew, you know, they're very, very good in behavior, like, and they all knew when supper time came along, they helped me set the table, and so they all had chores to do, like, and not too many chores. I always believe in, both him and I, we believed in the kids are kids for such a small period of time, so let them be kids and don't let them be adults. Too many people make them as a 12-year-old is an adult. Our kids never babysat one another. Because my social life was after the kids were gone, you know, were grown up. Then we had our social life. But beforehand, the social life was built around the kids. And in 1970, we took them all to Holland on our 25th wedding anniversary. The whole family.
So they've all been there.
Yeah, we had a picture in a Colombian paper a time on our veranda. Yes, our suitcases there. And I was the Mother of the Year from church here. I used to go to, we always went to St. Mary's Church in Sapperton, Anglican Church.
Yeah.
And we're still going down there. But anyhow, I said the Mother of the Year one time, so I had pictures taken up on the stairway, all of us, so.
Yeah, that must have been interesting.
Yeah. But we had a motto, like we all went to church on Sunday mornings, and the kids all went to Sunday school. You know, and they belonged to a young people's group from church, and so they were quite involved in a lot of things, like. So that's why they never got into trouble, because they were too busy.
Right, so the kids were in a lot of organised sports, and you were in community activities. And
yeah. We couldn't put them in hockey because we couldn't afford that, you know. But they were all in baseball and in school, in basketball, they were all over the place.
So they were pretty big in sports then,
yes.
is that right?
They were.
Yeah.
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 And you were coaching, you were saying?
Yeah, I used to coach Little League baseball, Monday Park.
Right. Now, while you were bringing this young family up, what were you doing, if anything at all, with veterans at that point? Were you still involved with veterans, or?
Not too much at that time. I joined the Legion, but I didn't do very much with it at the time.
Right.
Until later on, on account of the family growing up, you know.
You were kind of too busy with the kids?
Yeah, too busy much more with than to be up at the Legion. Then after they got grown up, we were pretty well alone. I went back up to the Legion, and we worked with them for years.
We never went down there to drink. We only went down there for meetings and stuff like that, and you know.
See, I was a service officer there for 17 years straight.
Oh, really?
That worked with the veterans, getting their pensions, getting medicals, and getting help from them, from the DVA and that. I'd done that for years.
Mm-hmm.
I got it for veterans practically all across Canada. I had some from down east come up, but it was up here and needed some help. So I would help them and then phone back to their Legion and give them their names and everything, and then they'd take it from there and carry on.
But that was something you did really when the children were grown up?
Yeah, pretty much all grown up, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was a puppy chairman, so it works out good together, like with a puppy and service officer, you know.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about it in the Legion while you were doing all that. I mean, obviously things changed during that period, but I mean, obviously you were in World War II, and then a lot of the veterans you were working with were in
the World
later
War.
conflicts, you know,
Yeah.
or maybe had never actually been involved in a war. So how did your perspective, you think, really differ from the younger people who were coming through? What was the big difference, do you think?
Well, right today, they don't seem to realize what the veteran went through
In World War II, you mean?
in World War II.
Right.
They take, like the Legion now, they take it more for a place to go, a pub, more like a pub, a place to go and have dancing and everything, like cheap dancing
Right.
and cheap beer,
Yeah.
you know. But to get them involved in much of anything that's going on in the Legion, you have an awful time.
Oh, is that right?
They will not volunteer. Very few of them will volunteer.
Same ones always.
It's pretty much always the
So,
same.
in other words, if you've got veterans who are troubled by their service and who need some support, wasn't easy to get people to step forward and.
Well,
Well, that was where the service officer comes. See, that was
Right.
his job.
see, everybody knew him, yeah.
To look after them, they needed help, of any kind, if they needed wheelchairs, they needed walkers, or if they needed medical care, that's what the service officer's job was to help, helping them.
Right. So, did you succeed at all in persuading, younger people to?
We got a few, but not too many. They're mostly
Even
in
if
the middle age and a little older.
even the Afghanistan vets, we can get them interested in
So
it.
maybe the younger people were too busy. Maybe they with their own families to get involved, or.
No, they don't want to be. They don't want to have the.
They don't seem to want the responsibility.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all. See, they all had it so easy nowadays. No, like we had it before, when we were grown up, and that we had
Like-
rough.
They take the poppy fund, for instance. All the money that's taken in from the poppy fund is for to support the veterans.
Right.
And if you try to get some of them to come out, to go out for on poppy day,
canvassing.
canvassing and that for the poppy fund, they'll say no. Let the veterans do it, and they're getting the benefit out of it.
Okay.
That's the attitude that a lot of them have. But still, they're in there using the facilities of the veterans.
So are you talking now about people who have never actually been in the military, who were just
Yeah,
veterans
never
for
been in
Legion?
the military.
But what about younger people who've been in the military? Were they more inclined to get involved, or?
Well, you'll get them involved like in parades and special days or something, just for the day, like a parade and that. But to get involved in doing anything, it's very hard to get them in it.
Do you think that's because they're too busy with their families?
I guess it's they're too young.
Or some of them are not even married, or just don't have a family. It's just their life is completely different to what
The ones that are coming back now are starting to join the Legions
Yeah.
and coming into us as help.
Yes, so I'm just thinking, obviously a different generation for me, but I know, we've known people who've been in Afghanistan. A lot of them got hurt. You'd imagine that their attitude would be a bit different to people who've never
Yeah.
been.
Well, they're starting to come in join the Legions now. We're gradually getting them in, but you talk to them, they say, "We're not veterans. We haven't been in a war." So that the start of them, they figure you had to be in the war to be a veteran,
I see.
but that is not true.
Well, I'm just thinking, in Afghanistan, a lot of people got shot at there. It may not be a war,
Yeah.
but it was.
They're a lot of them are in worse shape than we were.
Yeah, but we were in the committee. We have a transition program started, and that's a big help for the veterans nowadays when they come out of the Afghanistan, because they.
So there are supports then for folks
Yes,
coming
you
back.
get-
Supporting them coming back.
Yeah.
Then they come in, and then after you get them, they'll come back into the Legion, and they are starting to volunteer to get help in the Legions.
See, it was two UBC students, and were in the last year of the medical service, and they said, we can help the veterans. They should have some program there for them to help them. And he said, because we listen to these stories of the Second World War veterans, and there's no help at all for them. And that's why so many suicides were committed. So now they have this transition program, and the graduate work would put them into that.
So when you talk about suicides, are you thinking about younger people coming from Afghanistan and that kind of thing, or?
Yeah.
No, yeah, but they don't have that now anymore, see? Because if they go to the right place, because now they have the transition program.
Right.
And sometimes they even have to send them out to camp, to a wild boot camp,
Right.
for them to get the frustration out of it, like, you know?
Right. What about your generation when you came back? You know, there must have been a lot of people who were,
Yeah.
you know, were in pretty bad shape. What did they do for people in those days?
Nothing.
Well, when we came back, when we got our discharge, you went in, you got your discharge, and they said goodbye. That was it.
Mhm.
Find your own way. We got nothing. We got a few dollars a month for 6 months, and after that, you were on your own. Find your own way, do what you.
Did you have any people who were unfortunate enough to commit suicide or any other things like that? Or?
Well, there was some that have done it
Yeah.
during after the Second World War.
And a lot of them became alcoholics.
Yeah, an awful lot of them. See, that's where they used to go, is up to the legions, the veterans.
And they
And you
drowned
get
us.
in there, well,
Yeah.
it was all of it at that time, that was all that was in the legions was veterans.
Mm.
There was nobody else but veterans. And they would get in there and drink and talk among themselves. It was a place for them to go to get away from the,
Where they could be with people and share
yeah,
experiences.
share their
Yes.
own, one another, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Yeah. Yeah, so you were involved then, you were telling me what, you were 17 years as a service officer?
Yeah.
But are you still doing anything with them now, or?
No.
Well, just last year that I resigned from it. In 90,
Oh, goodness
I'm
me.
92.
Good for you.
Yeah, but you resigned for the one reason, I had a stroke. So he had to
I
give
had
everything
to-
up to, you know.
Help her. I
Yeah.
couldn't keep the two of them going.
No, of course.
So he said, well, I can't do the job properly, you know.
So somebody else took over.
Well, you know, I think you did pretty well if you did it till you were 91. That's a pretty long run, right?
Yeah.
I went back to 2 or 3 different celebrations in Holland after the war,
Mhm.
in the end of the World War, and we went to the
We
city
took
here,
2 trips down there.
and we got pins and flags and stuff. We went over there as the ambassadors of Coquitlam.
Oh, did you? When would that would have been then?
Yes. We took a flag. Eiselstein has a flag.
We took 2
City
or
of
3
Eiselstein,
flags
yeah.
over there, and that the
Always
different
take a city
region,
flag over
different
and,
cities
yeah.
And that was what, back in the 70s you were saying, or?
Well, this
No,
would
this
be
was not in the 70s.
50th anniversary, 45th anniversary of the end of the war in Holland.
Oh, so that's what, 95?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
We still take stuff from Coquitlam along with
Oh,
us.
actually, were you saying then that that got written up in the newspaper when you
Oh, this was in 70, we took the whole family.
took the whole family in the 70s, but at one point,
that is at
Yeah.
one point, 25th
It was
anniversary.
our wedding anniversary,
Our-
25th wedding
Went
anniversary.
back
So.
for our wedding anniversary, 25th,
right.
and it was celebration of the 25th anniversary of Holland at the same time.
What of the liberation of Holland?
Yeah, of the liberation.
Was that the first candlelight event you attended in Holland?
Pardon?
Was that the very first candlelight event
No,
you attended,
no,
or was that prior?
we signed the candlelight service, we started it 6 years ago. Because what they do in Holland, see, on Christmas Eve, all the school children go to the cemetery and they lay a candle in front of each Canadian gravesite.
Right.
So we thought it'd be kind of nice if we can do something like that too, but we can't do it on Christmas Eve because nobody will show up. So we set a time when there is an open house at the cemetery and we have it after that.
So how many years has that been going on in Holland then, these candlelight ceremonies?
Oh, I guess it's been going on since
6 years.
about
6 years now.
pretty close to it in Holland.
Yeah. In Holland we've been doing it ever since. The Dutch people and the European people know more about it, the kids know more about the war than anyone the rest of it here, you know.
Right. So really what you're saying is what all those events from those days are kept alive much better in Holland than maybe they
Oh,
are in
yes,
this
it
country?
is. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You see, they were under the German And then when the Canadians came in, we liberated them.
Yeah.
And they thought the Canada was the ones that liberated Holland.
Yes. Yes, no, I'd read about that.
And if you go into part of France, and Belgium, I've been all through up where the areas that we traveled through, they claim the Canadians was the ones that liberated them. It wasn't any of the other ones. It was the Canadians that got them their freedom.
Well, we went down to Normandy, and the first house what they liberated right across the beach there, the fellow was there. He was a young fellow then, and his mother was there. She was in the war, you know, she was alive. And so he said, "Oh, liberation, liberator! Thank you very much, liberator!" And you know, and he just hugged him and kissed him, and you know, and said, "Come back again." And you know, he was so. After that many years, he was still so pleased yet to see somebody, you know.
But from what you were saying, it's not just the people of the older generation who are still alive to remember, but it's also people
Over there,
Yes.
born afterwards who are
Yes.
still keeping things alive.
Yeah, see, I got
the younger generations over there
yeah.
is keeping things more or less
Yeah. See, got school trips going all over the place. To Vimy Ridge even was a school. We went to Vimy Ridge to the rededication, and there were 90 school buses.
Right.
You know, and nothing else what you saw was school buses, you know, and then they came out and all what you saw was the kids was Canadian flags, all down, you know, nothing else but a row and row, just like a bunch of bees, you know. It was really,
I guess one advantage they got there is, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to all the places you're talking about. They're all close together, relatively speaking. So
yeah,
if you want to get kids out to Vimy Ridge, you can get a lot of people from a small
They
area.
took
Yes.
500 from here, from Canada,
Oh, really?
yeah,
over to that that was in Vimy Ridge.
Yeah.
After it's been all rebuilt and redone,
Yeah.
and they reopened it from the First World War. They took 500 school kids from Canada, the government took over. And the day it opened, they all come in, they come by buses and they stop, and they all marched in like that with the French
Canadian flag, yeah.
It was something to see.
Is that kind of thing still going on now?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah,
ki-
they still have
And
parades and different
it was kind of nice because
Yeah.
the Queen of England was there, and she said, first the French president was there, and he said the same thing, but the Queen of England says, everybody tried it. The French couldn't take it, the
Hill 45.
Americans couldn't take it, but the Canadians took it. So make you feel good, you know, you are a Canadian.
For 2
you know.
years, they tried
Yeah.
to get this with the Germans. And every time they were pushed back, the British, the French, the Americans. And then when they brought the Canadians in, the Canadian division went in. And
This
they-
is Vimy Ridge you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
took it.
Yeah, we walked the trenches in
We
Vimy
were all
Ridge,
through
yeah.
in the trenches and that.
Yeah.
They're still there, where they, from the First World War, you can walk in them around where they used to be.
Yeah, actually, I haven't visited that one, but I've visited some other, you know, artifacts from World War I. Yeah. That's interesting. I guess really then it's, if you think back over the last 50 years then really, you've made it really kind of big interest in your two lives then to keep
Yes.
in touch
Oh,
with
yes.
that history and, you know, support veterans through
Yeah.
the Legion and so on. So it's been a big part of your life. That history's really come alive then really, isn't it? So one of the things that, if you think about, that's been going on in Canada just in the last little while is that some of the Prime Minister's been trying to encourage people, you know, to take more interest in history here, and he's
Yes.
they've had some efforts with the War of 1812, you know, to
Yeah.
bring it back and to create more artifacts and so on. What sort of things do you think the government could do to increase the interest of ordinary people in this area?
I think that if they got the veterans and the older people to more or less talk about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that would bring it out.
No, but you got to get the teachers in the
It's
school.
it's actually our own faults in a lot of ways that the younger generation don't know really what went on in the Second World War or there. Because when we come back, we wanted to forget about it. We didn't want to talk about it. We wouldn't talk. somebody asked you a question, you may answer one answer, and that was it. You never talked about it. You tried to forget it. And now, as we're getting older, it's starting to come out.
Yeah.
But if we'd have done that when we were younger, the history would have been known.
Yeah.
For the last 25 years, Veteran Affairs have been doing that, open up and you know, a big place and get so many students coming in by bus, and they get so many veterans to talk, like do you know, they have a 15 minutes talk, and they.
And do you find the kids are interested when they get
Yes,
the
very
opportunity?
much.
An awful lot of them
Very
are.
much
You
interested.
have- Like you have a talk at the school, like in Christmas and the different times of the year, we used to go out and talk at different schools, different groups. And the school kids, more or less the high school kids, they were very interested in it, and a lot of things you done, and what went on. But they never knew a thing about it.
Well, I think maybe the reason for that is that there really wasn't much in the school curriculum, I think, to be fair to the kids.
No, but
Yeah, I guess
they
that's
should have
true.
they should have it in the classroom, and they don't
It's true.
teach them enough. But then the teachers depends too. You have to have the good teachers. You know, we have some teachers when we went down and asked them if you could speak down there. Says, well, I believe in peace. I don't believe in war, so I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you know, and that was kind of a slap in the face because, you know,
Yeah, it's very
like I
sad.
told, if it wasn't for the war, you wouldn't have the peace you have here now. You know?
But from what you were saying
Right.
before, it sounds like in Holland maybe the attitudes are a little different there.
Oh yes. Of course, they went from parents, from grandparents to parents, and you know, to the kids, like, you know. And even we went back on the 50th anniversary. You know, we still have the, you know, I have a little baby, and I give him to Elsley and to different people too. You know, when they got there on the parade. You know, and they were hanging out. You know, it was just filled with people there. They're hanging out the windows and on the roofs of the houses, and you know.
When we had the parade on the
Yeah.
50th anniversary in Holland, there was 250,000 people along the walkway where the parade was.
In Apeldoorn, yeah.
Where we had our parade and celebration.
Yeah.
They were up on the roofs of buildings, windows, wherever person could get, they were there to see it.
And the Queen gave her Apeldoorn, her home in Apeldoorn. She opened it up for all the veterans to go in and have a lunch up there, and you know, the whole bunch, the whole works is involved. Like, you
Well, that's
know.
the Queen of Holland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess the Dutch royal family is pretty down to earth, right?
yes. As a matter of fact, the prince, one of the princes, is an honor member from the Legion here.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, yeah, we know him personally. As a matter of fact, he got married a couple of years ago, and we got an invitation to his wedding because I was speaking Dutch, and we got to talk to Dutch, like, you know, and it's, yeah. We didn't go because you feel out of place going to, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it was the 11th of November. We
Yeah.
were busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, one of the other questions that I thought I would ask you, you know, is whether you've been involved with any Dutch organisations here, because I remember I used to live a number of years ago on the island,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people who are Dutch there in the farming business,
Yeah.
especially in dairy farming. So have you
Yeah.
ever, you know,
I was involved in Dimension Ray for a couple of years, but I never taught the kids Dutch, and Elsley doesn't speak Dutch, so it kind of makes it bad because they all speak Dutch. So I felt kind of, you know, I was letting them out, like, you know, so I didn't go anymore. But he is laying every year on the 4th of May, that's the liberation of Holland. He's laying a wreath for the veterans here in Cenotaph and Bijtrock when they have the ceremony there in Bijtrock.
The Dutch
The Dutch-
ceremony.
yeah.
oh, there's a Dutch ceremony in White Rock, is
Yeah,
Yes.
every,
4th of May,
And that's for what, Dutch servicemen had served in,
yeah.
yeah, Dutch and Canadians.
yeah.
But he always lay a wreath for the veterans, for the, you know, they ask him to do that. And then we go to the Legion of Bijtrock for coffee. And
Oh, I didn't know that. So White Rock's a bit of a centre for that kind of thing, isn't it?
yeah, no, there's a cenotaph in Bijtrock, like, you know, and just by the city hall there. And it's so we're still quite involved. And what we did is, because he was, there was a group of Dutch people that got together and we're going to send out 35 Canadian soldiers back to Holland for the 50th anniversary. And they picked him as one of them. So what we did for we always like to do a favor, return a favor. So what we did is we got a barbecue every year for the Dutch people, and all the veterans get together in our backyard. So they all got together. Now they're all getting too old, and most of them are dead now too. But and I always made sure I had a Dutch treat. You know, because I still know how to, make them. So we always had a Dutch treat, like croquettes and stuff like that. Right. And so, they were always looking forward to that.
Good.
We like to return of, it's somebody that's nice to give to us, show appreciation,
Right.
Yeah.
They took 35 of us from here, well, from BC,
Yeah.
from different areas, some from the island, some from the interior, some from around Vancouver, all over. They picked 35. And they paid for everything from when we left Canada here until we landed back in Canada. Everything. Right through.
That's very good, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it shows a tremendous commitment
Yes.
to history and to honor the people and the
But
contribution.
we still have contact with the people that are still alive and the Dutch people. And anything goes on, anything special comes on, like when we had the Queen's Jubilee Medal, the Diamond Jubilee Medal given to us, the Dutch people were there. They're interested in what's going on with us as well. Like.
Yeah. Great. I think it's been very nice talking to you today.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed it very much, and maybe we can talk some more after we've finished with the cameras, but it's been a great pleasure to talk to you, and I'm just astounded by the extent of that connection over the years and what you've been able to do with it, and it's certainly amazing, just how much you put into supporting others, involved in that. And
The same as, we still have kids coming up to the house. They're living in Kamloops, they're living on the island. They were friends of our kids, our boys, and they still, when they come in, one is in up north, and when they come in town, they have to come and visit and have coffee with us. After all those years.
Yeah, that's really something.
Yeah.
Could I ask, we've got a little more time on tape. I just wanted to get you to maybe recount how the candle lighting service in Holland inspired you to do the event here. I mean, I think it's fabulous you guys put it together, but on the other hand too, I think it's the kind of event that maybe Veteran Services should have taken the lead on, and it's amazing that you guys would step in and fill that void.
Well, we owe it to, like I was saying, I owe it to the veteran because they helped us. They give us our food and give us our freedom. So I can't do enough for the veterans. I can't repay them what they done. And that's why I said, well, at least we can do is have a candlelight tribute. So we just discussed it.
It started really when we found out about it in Holland and that, and we've come back, brought some brochures back. We took it to the
convention.
To command, and command took it down to the convention, and it was talked on there, and then they didn't do much about it. Then they decided here at the command in North Vancouver to start the candlelight tribute. So there was one legion up there started it, and there was only one.
No, Veteran Affairs started it.
The Veteran Affairs. And so that when they got it in there, we decided, well, why shouldn't our legion here have candlelight tribute too? So her and I took it on, and we got it started by getting with the city, the manager of the cemetery.
But we have more a personal touch to it. In Vancouver, North Vancouver, they have the dignitaries all. Nobody lays a wreath except the dignitaries. Nobody lays a candle except the dignitaries.
See, down up there, they put the candle. They have so many candles, and they put on.
Yeah.
And then the service, and then everybody leaves, and there may be very few. But up here, I made crosses, white crosses, in poppy on them.
Yeah.
And every veteran in the
grave
cemetery here in Coquitlam has one of them white crosses.
Before Remembrance Day,
Placed it on the head of there, and at a certain day, when we come down with the candles, there's a candle placed
In front of the
in
cross.
front of that cross that burns for 37 hours in wind or rain.
Goodness me, that's quite a candle that'll go
Yes.
on that long.
The candles came from Holland.
Yeah.
It's the candles that's where they all come from.
It's like a container with a candle inside, I believe.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
a can
yeah.
like this with a cover on. You take the cover on, and the top is kind of, well, there's cuts in it.
cone
so
shape,
the
yeah.
light can
Yeah.
shine through, and that candle will burn for 37 hours.
It's quite a sight just at dusk
it's a
when you
beautiful-
see all those.
Oh yeah, it's a
lights
beautiful
and-
sight at night, you
Placed
know. We just
all over
yeah.
the graveyard in different.
It's a beautiful sight when you see that on all the
We always
streets.
got the
Yeah.
Air Force to clean the stones.
Yeah, the cadets are cleaning the stones,
Cadets.
you know, the week before.
The week before they
yeah.
come in and they wash and clean all of the tops of the veteran
Yeah.
stones so that there'll be names and everything every year.
That's a really nice memorial that way. It must be nice for the families of people to be able to come and see that.
Well, we got people come from Kamloops.
Yeah.
That the dad was,
Well, they're like.
yeah, the dad was buried there, you know.
Buried there, there were the veterans who come down, they put a candle on his grave with a cross. Like what's supposed to be like in Holland, they had a veteran and a school child go with them, and the veteran carries the candle to the grave, and then he gives it to the child and he puts it down. It's passing the torch from the older to the young.
See, that's the meaning of
actually
it.
what
That's the meaning of it all,
That's
yeah.
the meaning of it, is passing the torch from the veteran to a younger generation to look after it.
And you mentioned the cadets. They do cleaning before the event, but there's
The
a
Saturday
big part of the
before.
event as well.
Yeah, the
and-
Saturday, yeah. And they participate too,
Mhm.
yeah. But they come Saturday clean
Well,
it,
the
yeah.
parade, we have the band there and the flags and everything, you know.
Same as we went down to, to the city hall and we got a van, a 12-passenger van for the veterans to take them around.
We didn't have any
Yeah.
transportation, so her and I went down and seen the mayor and
Yeah,
talked with him there. He said, "Oh, that's not, to get a van, that's not very much, about 45,000. He said, "Yeah, we'll get you a van." So he got us a 17-passenger
16,
van
okay.
Wow.
for our Legion from the city.
From the city of
The
Yes,
city
yeah.
paid
Coquitlam,
for,
yeah.
Coquitlam City paid
Yeah.
for it and got this van for us.
Yeah. But see, you get it if you go out after it, if you get after it. If you
Right.
don't ask, you don't get it.
Yeah, I'm sure you're
You
right.
know?
And we worked with the city on different projects, different things here.
Same as I found veteran affairs for pins, and they're dropping off maybe a couple hundred pins at my house, at our house, you know. Well, I'll drop them off at your place there, you know, because we get to know them so well because we're always dealing with them. You
We
know?
knew all,
Yeah.
we've known all the mayors for the last 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
personally, that we go in and talk to them right in their office, her and I.
I guess really you become a kind of pair of historical fixtures, really. Probably if I was going to become the mayor of Coquitlam, I'd phone you right away. Well, I would, because they had these guys know all this background and
That's what Richard-
veterans and so on.
That's what
They
Richard
would
Stewart
be
said.
really, really
Yeah.
useful people to speak
Yeah.
to.
Well,
Richard-
Richard Stewart is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a
he
member
was saying
of-
that,
Well,
you
they're
know.
all a member of our Legion, you see. Once
Yeah.
they become mayor, they automatically get a
honorary.
Honorary, okay.
Yeah.
membership
Yeah.
to the Legion.
Yeah.
But Richard was a member long before he ever became mayor.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, I got him helping decorating
When he
the
was down in Ottawa, he used to come up and help us decorate the
He was
hall
the
and
MLA
everything
in
up for Christmas.
Victoria. He was the
We're in
MLA.
Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria. He was the MLA, yeah, for a long time for the.
So you'd be one of the young ones you could get working then.
Yeah,
He used to come up there
Yeah.
and help us decorate.
I got him to decorate
in the hall.
for Remembrance
Yeah.
Day. Oh yeah. And you know he was in up your 90th birthday too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we always do when the new mayor comes up. we make an appointment to go and see them. And we talk to them for about 5-10 minutes, introduce ourselves, and we were working for the Legion and what they can do, what we can do for the city and what the city can do for the Legion. That's what we're after always, And you'd be surprised how good relationships you'll get in.
But I guess really from what you were telling me today is that you've worked on this relationship for many, many years.
Oh, yes.
they have.
So, I mean, we're not just talking about something that came out of the air. You
No,
built this up.
No, we built it up, yeah.
So, your new mayor, come and see you too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting story. I guess really it's a kind of lesson to many people in the community, I guess, if you want to get anything done in a municipality, is you have to work at the long-term relationship and get people interested in what you're trying to achieve.
Too many people complain, but they don't do anything about it.
Yes.
And if you don't do anything about it, you don't get anything done.
Well, it's pretty easy to complain,
Yeah.
isn't it? But being constructive, I guess, is always the harder road to follow than just howling, isn't it?
Yeah. Even Jimmy Christmas, we knew him well, eh?
Yeah, when you
Yeah,
do
oh, yeah.
Christmas, when you
That's how far back we went.
Well,
And he was reefed in, so.
give the reap here.
yeah, I'm afraid you really got me on that one. How far are we going back for that?
Yeah.
47,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't even born then, but
Yeah.
48, 49.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was reefed. And there was the city hall was right there where the buildings are.
Just across
There was,
the road. where
There was
city
municipal hall.
used to be.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess we don't even have that title anymore. Do
Was-
we?
That
Reeve?
used to be the city
Yeah.
hall there,
Yeah.
and behind it
There's a municipal hall.
was the work yards. for the-
Work
all
yards.
their
And underneath was the
big
police
shed.
station,
Yeah.
It was all in
And
the
down
little.
below the offices of the city hall with the RCMP.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
In
like
the
you said,
basement.
back in '47, a little tiny
Yeah.
village, and now
Yeah.
a pretty big city.
Oh, yes. I know the kids used to play on weekends on the, behind the municipal hall because I never let them go during the week because it was always busy. But on the weekends, they used to play there. And the RCP used to say, just leave them alone, we're looking after them. So, because you got to know them all so well, But like, people, we like to talk to people persons, we always talk to anybody. Like, I had one lady took her out for a walk, she was crippled. And she said, and I said, took her onto the quay. And there was a person walked by and I said, good morning. And she said, why do you say to everybody good morning? She said, well, maybe because I'm the only person who would speak to her. They might be living alone and they don't have anybody to talk to,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a habit forming, but